Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 27 of Photo Critiques. And in Photo Critiques, people send me in some of their best images, and I critique each shot with suggestions on how they could improve it, and hopefully all of us gain something from it. And today I'm pleased to critique the work of Edwin, and I believe his last name is Gales. He didn't sign his last name on his email. I'm just getting that off his email address. So Edvin Gales, he's from Montenegro and he's 25 years old, and he's really interested in photography and wants me to critique his work to try to improve. So hopefully we could help Edwin out today. First image here. This has kind of a nice leading line in the snow. I talk about leading lines all the time, it seems, and parallel lines and receding lines. All these things are just tools to help someone who's viewing your image lead their eye through the image a little better. So we have some faint ones here. The problem with this shot is there's not a distinctive subject. There's not really anything in this shot for us to lock onto when we look at it. It's a nice exposure. He did a nice job. A lot of times when you take pictures of snow, it comes out gray, not white. So he did a really nice job with the exposure. The sky isn't overly interesting, just a nice blue. So there's nothing here for us to really lock our eyes onto. So that's something I want to encourage everyone. When you're ready to frame a scene, try to define in your head what the subject is, and then do whatever you can to enhance that subject. So if you could incorporate a leading line or some type of line, or incorporate framing, something to help enhance whatever that subject is. So try to look for a subject in the scene. This shot too is, now we have this actual subject, which is this mountain. The time of day is a factor a little bit. You have the shade on this face right here. Typically when you take shots of Rocky Mountains in the US, you'd be at Yosemite or somewhere with these granite cliffs. You'd want them front lit, so you want the sun behind you, so the sun is hitting this cliff right straight on. So, again, if you could come back at a different time of day, I would encourage it. It would also, if you did that, these trees wouldn't be in dark shadow like they are right now. So, time of day. There's a great reflection down here that's cut off. And the sky isn't interesting. I would have liked you to get a lower vantage point, to get your camera low, and to tilt it down a touch, and have it cut off right up here and get more of the water in, so you could exploit the reflection also. So my suggestion again is to get here at a different time of day if possible, and point your camera down a little bit when this water is this smooth and this calm to get that reflection in there. This shot too, again, there's not really a distinctive defined subject except for maybe this steam coming off the water, which is nice. One thing on a shot, I like this shot, don't get me wrong. One thing I would suggest when you don't have a strong distinctive subject, there's not like a dog here or something like that, is if you add a vignette to the shot, it will help draw the viewer's attention more towards the middle of the shot. So add a slight vignette. It may help to draw the viewer's attention towards the middle of the shot. One thing I should mention, I mentioned in previous critiques that I don't like modifying other people's work, and I wasn't going to do it, but I've got overwhelming amount of email from people saying that it helps them learn if I do some modifications to the images. So I hope you photographers that send me in images to critique don't mind. I will be doing some minor tweaks here and there, but it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It's just suggestions on how I would do it. So in this shot, a slight vignette might help. Even that's a little too strong. Just a slight vignette would help. It's a very nice shot though, very nice exposure, and the vignette I think would just add to it a little bit. This here, again, there's not really a defined subject. It's kind of, you got a leading line of this cliff here. Again, it's hard to say what I could tell him to do to make it better. I wasn't there, so I don't know if he could have got an interesting foreground element in there, if he could have pointed the camera up and got something, some goats, mountain goats on the mountain or something. I don't know. But when you go in, like I mentioned, you're going to compose a scene and you're looking through your viewfinder. Really be thorough in your mind and think of, what am I trying to convey here? What am I trying to paint with this photograph in the people's minds when they look at it? And then once you decide that, do whatever you can to exploit whatever that factor is. So if you're gonna this spot right here, you want to, something's interesting there which I'm not seeing right now, but let's say there was a bird right here and you want to exploit that. You have to frame it, you have to capture it and get the composition so that it exploits that bird standing right there on this edge of this rock. So that's just some suggestions on how you might be thinking when you're trying to compose a shot. And this, again, there's really not a distinct subject in the shot. We just have the trunks of these trees. Now, in processing it, I would suggest is it's just kind of dark trunks against a light background. There's really not there's not a lot of interest drawn because of that. So what I would suggest is, what I would do is I would bring the shadows out a little bit. So I'd pull shadows up quite a bit to help bring the trunks out a little more. I would probably bring whites down just a little bit so that the background isn't as glaring. I would boost clarity a lot because I want these to be real crisp and clear looking. And I would bring vibrance up because we have moss here. I'd like to enhance. It's really not a lot of color in the shot, but we do have some, and I'd like to enhance it. So I'm going to bring saturation up also. And then I'm going to bring contrast up just a little because I don't want that to fall out. If you go too high, it goes back into darkness again. So I just want to bring it up just a touch. And that's just for starters. But if I hit the backslash key, this is the image as it was sent to me, and this is after I just did 30-second modification to it. I enhanced the green a little bit and I made the trunks of the tree stand out a little bit, so I have a little more subject to catch our eye and to look at. So it's hard to put into words what I'm trying to suggest that Edwin does or that anyone does, but pretty much is, when you look at a scene, try to decide in your mind what you want people to notice in the scene and make that the subject that you're trying to exploit. So if you taking a picture of a shoreline and the water is crystal clear and the water is what's attracting you, then you have to figure out a way, and you have to be thorough and you have to be diligent, figure out a way how you're going to exploit that crystal clear water in the shot. If you're in the same thing, if the water isn't crystal clear but there's an interesting tree in the foreground, you're going to exploit you're going to make that tree look great. If there's an interesting mountain behind it, you're going to do that. So you have to come into a scene and try to figure out exactly how you're going to exploit that scene and make it look interesting to the viewer. Now, this shot is a very nice composition, and again, this isn't very easy to get. We have a very bright areas. He has nothing blown out. He did an excellent job of exposing it. We have some darker areas. In this shot here, the only thing I could suggest is it's kind of uniformly bright. I would maybe suggest that he adds a vignette, a dark vignette, and I would just draw it down across almost the whole shot like that. And what this, now I said vignette, I apologize. I meant graduated filter. All right, I'm sorry. So I would take the graduated filter and I'd pull it all the way down. And you could see now it's at 0.51. I brought it way down. It's going to make it very dark. But I think right around there is good. Right between 50 and 60. And it helps, like, here's without the vignette. It's just brighter. and with the vignette. Let me close that down. So if I go, this is before, this is after, it just kind of brings the highlights down a little bit and tones it down just a touch. And I think that adds to the overall appeal of the shot. So it's not so bright up in here, it just brings it down a little bit. And we do, it's still a very interesting shot. We have the reflection in the water, it's very nicely done. If you wanted to add a vignette, this is a real vignette on top of it, you could add a little vignette. It helps further draw our interest towards the center of the shot, and it's a very nice image. That's what I would suggest on this one. And I think that's the last one. Yes, it is. So I'd like to thank Edwin for sending me in his work. Again, this was a little more, nothing I could say specifically to do except for when you're looking at the scene, define what your subject is, what you're trying to convey to the viewer, you want them to notice, and do whatever you can to exploit that subject. So if you're going to create a leading line, or you see a leading line that could lead to it, exploit it so that leading line leads to the subject. If there's sun rays coming down, get in a way that the sun rays look like they're leading into the subject. There's a million ways. I could go on and on. But do whatever you can to exploit that subject and make it easy for the viewer to find and to dwell on. So when they're looking at the shot, that's what they're dwelling on. If you don't have a defined subject, a viewer will tend to just scatter around and just keep looking and looking and looking and not really see what they want to see. What am I looking at here? Where is the defined subject? So that's my suggestions to anyone when you get your eye up to the viewfinder. Do that. And again, I'd like to thank Edwin. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you did. And all these little adjustments I do in Lightroom. I have Lightroom training on YouTube and on my website. It's free. Just watch the Lightroom training videos, and I take you from start to finish on how you could develop photographs in Lightroom. And again, thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys soon.